I want to get the most out of my packs. As an avid Magic player and collector, I am always looking to pull the latest and greatest when I open a pack for myself. However, in the chase for glory and temporary dopamine highs, I forget that there's usually like 8 other cards in the pack that just get tossed to the wayside. So I started to wonder, how can I maximize my packs while also building fun and interesting decks? And thus, this video series idea was born. Crack and Conquer. In this series, I'll open a random pack of Magic the Gathering and be forced to utilize its contents as inspiration for a deck. The arbitrary challenges for myself that I must face are: 1. I must use at least 3 cards from the pack, but am encouraged to use as many as possible. 2. If I open a legendary creature, I cannot use it as my commander. And 3. The deck must be under $50 at the time of making this video. And before we get to this pack opening, I gotta mention first that this video is brought to you by the EDH Jank Center, your EDH safe space and home for everything Commander and everything Jank, and I'm your host Jordan. Now let's dive in. Now, I have taken the liberty of filming the randomization process to ensure no cheating, so here we have 3 packs: Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Duskmourn, and Aether Drift. We are going to roll the dice to see what we get. Now, enough waiting, let's roll a tape. Okay, so Duskmourn will be 1 and 2. Thunder Junction will be 3 and 4. And Aether Drift is going to be 5 and 6. Oh gosh. Okay. And it's Aether Drift, folks. Let's get those out of the way and let's open this bad boy. And as you can see, this lovely pack here was provided by my local LGS, and we are going to crack it open, baby. Yeah, I absolutely love cracking packs, so I'm so glad to be doing this video series. And get rid of this token here, and that should be the land, and now we can peruse. Okay. Yeah. Okay, sure. Oh, indeed, splendid. 1/1 with Death Touch. We always love to see it. Yep. Oh. Okay. Yeah, lots and lots of vehicle stuff here. Oh, baby. That'd be cool with Zerta? Zerta, maybe? Oh, that one's fun. That's also fun. This is hard, dude. I really like that card too. Ooh, baby, Demonic Junker. That's me, I'm a Demonic Chunker. And another chonky boy to end it out, great. So after all of that, the cards I ended up choosing were these 4. We're gonna go with Demonic Junker, Haunt the Network, Midnight Mangler, and Guidelight Optimizer. So Aether Drift leans heavily, obviously, into vehicles, and thusly, so are we. Today, I'm going to be breaking down for you a $50 Dimir Vehicles deck inspired by our pulls today. We're going to be first taking a look at 10 cards that make the deck tick, and then second, showcasing our inspo cards and what they do to help out our cause. So at the time of making this video, the deck list comes in just under $50 at $48.12, but that's mainly because I got greedy and decided to keep Reaver Titan in there, which is a $20 card on its own. So we're dealing with a very affordable build here, kiddos, but with some really cool synergies and payoffs. Oh, and as always, the deck list can be found in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's chat about our commander, which is Vela the Nightclad, 4 and a blue-black legendary creature human wizard. This one's from Plane Chase Anthology, and it says Intimidate. Other creatures you control have Intimidate, and I'm gonna read Intimidate for you real quick. This creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or creatures that share a color with it. It also has an ability: whenever Vela or another creature you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. And it's a 4/4. So our general helps our vehicles, once they're crewed, get in for damage really easily, and also punishes our opponents for destroying our stuff. You can definitely lean into that last ability way more than I did here, but I chose to prioritize getting the vehicles in for damage above all. I'm really loving this build a lot, and I think I will be making the leap to paper with this one, but enough about me. Let's chat about our 10 highlighted cards. The first one being the aforementioned Reaver Titan, 7 colorless mana artifact vehicle from the Warhammer 40k commander decks. It says Void Shields, protection for mana value 3 or less. It also has Gatling Blaster. Whenever this vehicle attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent, and the crew cost is 4. Meaning, you can tap any number of creatures you control with total power 4 or more. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and it's a 10/10. We are starting off this list with our most expensive card by far. Since our commander lets us get our vehicles in for damage quite easily, it behooves us to run a bunch of absolute units in terms of our choice of vehicles. Reaver Titan gets the job done and more, with a huge stat line as well as an awesome effect on attacks. Hitting someone for 10 damage and then spreading 15 more around the table at people's life totals is so deliciously juicy, brother. And if that wasn't enough to get you super stoked on it, this also has protection for mana value 3 or less, meaning that if an opponent tries to point a low cost removal spell at it, it shall fizzle, baby, and any small short king creatures will not be able to do anything about blocking this big old boy. And yeah, it's $20, so if you want to make this an ultra budget deck, like around the $20 to $15 range, you can just remove a few choice cards from this list and replace them with something else, and you're at that threshold, bro. It's really dope. I love the utility of this kind of list. But hey, if you're a relatively big spender and you got the money to spare, I say drop it on this big boy. This thing is a game changer. All right, next up, we're doing Cybership, which is 6 colorless mana artifact vehicle from the Doctor Who set. It says flying. And whenever Cybership deals combat damage to a player, put the top 2 cards of that player's library onto the battlefield face down under your control. They are 2/2 Cyberman artifact creatures, and the crew cost is 4, and it's an 8/8. Say what you want about Universes Beyond, dude, but my goodness, did we get some incredible vehicles for this build from those sets. Having some built-in evasion for this card is amazing, since we won't always have our commander ready and available to us. Now, I know that this is pretty high-costed, but I think we get excellent return on investment here with a combo of flying and a potential intimidate from our general later, allowing us to snag 2 2/2s every time this connects. These 2/2s can be attackers, blockers, extra crew members for our other vehicles, and also fodder to trigger Vela's last ability. And it's a chunky boy, so getting this in for damage even a couple times in a game is going to leave a significant dent in opposing life totals. And next up, we've got our patron selection! Whee! And today our patron selection was made by our patron Loot Sweeper. Loot Sweeper, thank you very much. We appreciate your insight on this build. And boy, did they recommend a good one. It is Ghoulish Procession. 1 and a black enchantment. This one is from Innistrad Remastered. It says, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures die, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. This ability triggers only once each turn, and a creature with Decayed notably can't block. When it attacks, sacrifice it at end of combat. So Loot Sweeper was onto something, dude, because it turns out Decayed creatures really work well in this build's MO. We want small, inconsequential creatures to be able to crew our vehicles, and we want things to leave the battlefield for some incremental life loss throughout the game. Decayed zombies straight out the crypt are the way to go for this, and Ghoulish Procession nets us them in decent numbers for a small investment. As people sacrifice Steve, block in combat, or destroy our own vehicles when they're creatures, we will be getting some value off of this card no matter what. All of this for 2 mana and 10 cents means this is a certified slapper in my book, brother. Now let's move on to Getaway Car, 3 colorless mana artifact vehicle from Streets of New Freaking Capenna. It has haste, and whenever Getaway Car attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it this turn to its owner's hand. It's got a crew cost of only 1, and it's a 4/3. Always gotta say this, New Capenna is, and always forever will be forever goated in my book. Now, New Capenna silently provided us with a few really awesome vehicles, and this card is a prestigious member of that exclusive club. And there are so many things to love here, dude. Low crew cost, haste, and the thing that I love most, a tasty synergy with our commander. And I know I said that we didn't really build around this last ability, but it just so happened that a lot of vehicles tend to really synergize with it, just like this. So when this thing blocks or attacks, we get to send a creature that crewed it back to our hands, which is normally viewed as maybe like a drawback in the design. But with our commander out on the field, this becomes a way to drain our opponents of some life. And if we return the right creature to our hand, something like Falcon Abomination, then when we replay it later, we will be able to snag a token out of it. We can then rinse and repeat this process over and over again as much as we like for some really awesome value. And now we're going to look at Gossip's Talent, which is a 1 and a blue enchantment class from Bloomburrow. It's got 3 levels. The first level is whenever a creature you control enters, you can surveil 1. Then you can pay 1 and a blue to level it up to level 2, which says whenever you attack, target attacking creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. And then you can pay 3 and a blue to level it up to level 3, which is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may exile it, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Now, while I do not ever discriminate, I do want to say that the first 2 abilities on this card are not the most important to us in this particular build. I mean, the main reason we are talking about this card is for level 3. This is such a delicious interaction with our commander's final ability, allowing us to blink any of our vehicles that deal damage. And since they are still creatures when they get blinked, this will trigger a few instances of life loss triggers from our commander. This is such a delicious interaction, and hey, if those first two abilities end up being useful to us, that is just the icing on the cake. All right, moving on over to Sharding Sphinx, LMAO. It's a 4 blue artifact creature Sphinx from March of the Machine Commander. It says flying, and whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and it's a 4/4. You know it, you love it. I had to do it to him. This is one of the funniest names in all of Magic the Gathering's history, and it also just so happens to be a straight up destroyer of worlds in this build. If it wasn't obvious by now, we are going to be hopefully getting in multiple vehicles for damage every one of our combat steps, so ideally this card is going to be netting us an absolute metric ton of Thopters. Those Thopters can help us crew, but can also be a sneaky form of pillow forting since they're flying blockers, or a cheeky little alternate win con since they are flying attackers as well. Okay, nothing else to say really except for running the name back one more time because it's really funny. Sharding Sphinx. And now let's move on to Necropolis Regent, which is 3 black creature vampire from the Innistrad Crimson Vow commander decks. It says flying, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It's a 6/5, which is how tall I am if you reverse the numbers. All right, is it a win more card? Maybe. Could it be traded out for something more efficient or synergistic or less heavy on black pips? Yeah. Sure, but would you be losing out on making your vehicles absolutely jacked? Yes, you would, my child. And this card is less than $1, and I don't want to explain the inclusion beyond that. So yeah, this, when it goes off, wins games for you. Okay, enough said. Let's move on to number 8, which is Heartless Conscription, 6 black sorcery from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction commander decks. It says exile all creatures. For each card exiled this way, you may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. Exile Heartless Conscription. So it's a sort of house rule for myself that all the decks that I make don't run more than 2 board wipes. It's a personal philosophy, so don't yell at me. Actually, if you are going to yell at me, please do so in the comments. It's really good for engagement. Anyways, because of that arbitrary rule for myself, I want to make sure that in each build, the board wipes that I do include get me the most bang for my buck. Heartless Conscription hits all creatures, meaning it's asymmetrical if we're running a bunch of vehicles and they are not crewed. Now, this might interfere sometimes with being able to crew things right away. However, you can almost guarantee that you will come out ahead after casting this because not only will it disproportionately affect your opponents, but also you will be able to just steal the creatures you exiled. And frankly, I think all of that is a lovely boon for an 8 mana cost. And now we're gonna move on to Mighty Servant of Luco? I don't know. Correct me in the comments. 3 colorless mana artifact vehicle from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. It has trample, ward, discard a card, and whenever Mighty Servant of Leuco becomes crewed for the first time each turn, if it was crewed by exactly 2 creatures, it gains, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards until end of turn. It has a crew cost of 4, and it's a 6/6. So this is another awesome vehicle for this deck. I mean, it's a pretty simple tech, but a 6/6 that when crewed by 2 creatures exactly draws us a bunch of cards every single time it connects is pretty good. This inclusion really geeks me out because this card has sat in my rares pile in my own personal collection for years now, and I finally have an excuse to slot it in somewhere. We love to see it. And our last card of the day is Gas Guzzler, 1 black mana creature vampire rogue from Aether Drift. It says start your engines. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. This creature enters tapped, and it has max speed. Pay a black to sacrifice another creature or vehicle to draw a card, and it's a 2/1. Frequent watchers of the channel know that I love me a 1-drop Lil guy, and this is a great one for this build. Being a 1 mana 2/1 means it's already awesome for crewing vehicles, and then if we hit max speed, we can trigger Vela's ability while also gaining some value by sacrificing a creature or vehicle to draw a card. It's just a win-win-win. Pretty simple tech, and now let's move on to the 4 cards that we pulled from this pack, and we are just gonna go over them very quickly here. Demonic Junker is an amazing removal piece that can come down for super cheap depending on what we have on board. We have Haunt the Network, which is a sneaky little alternate win con if we can get the right amount of artifacts on board. Perfect for when the game is 1v1 and on the surface you appear to not have it in the bag. There's also Midnight Mangler, which is a blocker on other turns that are not ours, and another vehicle to get in for damage in the early game. And lastly, we have Guide Light Optimizer, which is just a lovely little mana rock for our vehicles. It can be a blocker as well in a pinch. All right, and just like that, we have made it to the end of this week's video, kiddos. What were your favorite inclusions in the deck? What cards would you slot into this list? Did I miss anything? I'm always down there in the comments, so come on down and have a chat with me. And hey, if you'd like to join the EDH Jank Center Discord community, watch these videos a day early, submit cards for the patron selection, and play spell table games with me and other patrons every month, consider signing up for the Patreon in the description below. We've got a beautiful Discord community and affordable entry points, so come on in and get janked. And hey, if you don't have the funds for monetary support, that's totally chill. You can just like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more Commander stuff and more jank. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next video, and don't forget, the spirit of the format is the gathering.